Welcome to another episode of the Wood Couture Podcast. Today we have the absolute pleasure to welcome to our regional HQ in Dubai, the one and only and a super friend, Najee Syriani. Welcome to our podcast.
Thank you.
Always a pleasure, brother. It's
nice to be here. Thank you.
For the people that don't know, Najee is Corporate Vice President for Project for Rotana Group. You know, a very prominent pan-regional, let's say international company with a lot of time in the pipeline and the people that have made the history of the regional hospitality, let's say. And so we want to hear everything about him, and we're very curious because he has a huge experience. So one of the things that people are always curious about is to know why hospitality. When did you thought, let me get into hospitality?
Okay. So when I first thank you. It's nice to be here. It's nice to be chatting with you. We do it usually off the camera, but today is
official.
Yes. So when I did my architectural degree, I realized that you have you have many ways of building your career. But for me, it was either go with the consultants, the normal architectural firms that you see where you have hundreds of architects, or try to steer into a sector that you like and that you would like to develop yourself in and specialize in something. I mean, at the time, we're not talking 100 years ago, but 20 years ago, specialization was not very common in architecture, let's say. You should be like someone who can design a school, a house, a hotel maybe. But I wanted from the beginning of my career to focus on something. And I remember I used to get attracted to hotels, and I used to like the vibe of a hotel. You know, the hospitality industry has some magic in it, you know. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, I was drawn very naturally into this environment. We were designing a hotel for Rotana Hotels back in 2003, 2004. It was actually here next door. And this is when I met the founder of Rotana, Salim Zir. And it was like, okay, I think this is something that we can build on. So I called the founder and I said, look, there is something we can do together. At the time, Rotana was I think a company with 20, 25 hotels, few hotels in the pipeline, but it was not what Rotana is today. And he was ready to listen. We met a couple of times, and this is how I started getting into the hospitality world from a hospitality company background. I was designing a couple of things before that, but this is when it was like, okay, now you're in the role. And kind of, it makes you a little bit special as well. So first you are specialized in something as an architect, but also you kind of become a special type of architect. You know, like you're not, you're officially into one kind of career that, I mean, obviously I like, but that is quite special and quite generic. You know, like you have a lot of, in the hospitality world, you can design a hotel room, you can design a restaurant, a spa, health club. Sometimes you have resorts, sometimes you have city hotels. There's so much you can do, and this is why I.
In your early days, did you identify somebody like a mentor?
Obviously, yes. I mean, when I was doing the architecture school, I always say that my second year of architecture was the most important because our teacher at the time was an architect, a Lebanese architect, who studied in the US, who was kind of groomed in the US, and who met and who was kind of surrounded by so many of these great architects, and who came back to Lebanon to teach in one of the schools, which was our architecture school. This gentleman, William was his name, kind of gave me everything I needed to understand what architecture is. So he used to always say, the idea is that you need to learn how to learn. And when you learn how to learn, everything is possible. And architects are designers, creators by nature. And what I mean by this is that you have architects that are movie directors, like Zeffirelli, for example. He's originally an architect. Paco Rabanne is an architect. Kenzo Tanguy, I think, is an architect, but he's also into fashion design, if I'm not mistaken. So the revelation with this gentleman back in 1997 maybe was that if you learn how to learn, everything else is possible. And then after that, the other years of design and architecture were basically just applying what I learned from this gentleman throughout the second year of architecture. Other mentors I can mention is Salim Zir, for example, our founder, Rotana founder. From this gentleman, you get to learn determination, long-term thinking, the energy that he has in waking up every morning with a lot of discipline, with a lot of determination to build what Rotana is today. And when you are working with such people, there is no way you can procrastinate. There is no way you can say, you know what, I'll do it tomorrow or next week, or, you become that same type of person that is creating the success of the company that we are today.
Very resilient. Very
exactly.
How was very much involved in the design at that time?
Salim? Yeah, definitely. I mean, and this is why actually I think we kind of connected, because he was the type of founders that liked development. He was passionate about architecture, about building beautiful things and things of a certain quality. And this is why we connected. I mean, at the time, Dubai was buzzing with so many projects and so many owners and developers. And the fact that I actually noticed this gentleman is because of his character and of his passion for hospitality. I could have designed this project for them and then moved on to the next one. But it is this passion for hospitality, this passion for design that connected us. And that's why we kind of collaborated. In my opinion, when you are working for a company, you are not working for the company, you are working with the company. And that's at least my approach to working anywhere. Because this way, you feel like you own it. It's not like you are working for a salary or you're working, to please someone. And with this gentleman, we kind of worked together to develop hotels in Doha and the GCC, let's say in the beginning, and then the Middle East, the north of Africa. We moved then into Turkey. Now we are almost, as you said, everywhere. Africa is another big venture for us. Eastern Europe, we have a hotel in London, if you heard, recently announced. So, and if you don't have this passion, you cannot do all this. I've been with the company for 18 years. Every day is a new day. Every day is a new venture, and it's still interesting.
Now, a question is, you've seen so many designs. You've seen so many people. Let's not talk about Rotana. Let's talk about industry in general.
Yes.
The question I have for you is, what are the common challenges that somebody in your position faces when, in technical services, let's call it, is receive documentation, receive project from clients and professionals. What are the common mistakes or shortfalls that always come to your table in terms of design?
Yeah, I mean, it's different, let's say, challenges from different types of people or partners. So if we talk about consultants, you need to understand that some consultants are here to design beautiful things. But this is not the only reason why we are existing, as a hospitality industry. Designing beautiful things is one thing. But at the end of the day, we are designing products that we are selling. So, and I always tell this to even our general managers. What we do is design products that you as general managers or operators are taking to the market and selling. It's like designing an iPhone. The iPhone can be very beautiful, but if it doesn't function properly, you can put it on a shelf and that's it. To use these hotels, they need to be beautiful, but they need to be functional. They need to make money somehow, and they need to be done in a way that is not too expensive to build, so that at the end of the day, when you sell it, you make money, basically. Of course, this is not like just thinking out of practicality, but we noticed that some consultants understand this game, and when they understand it, they strike the right balance between designing something beautiful, but that functions and makes money, to our owners and developers. Because, why do people build stuff? Because of the end result. If the end result is an ego trip, fine, we will enjoy a collaboration of ego trips, and then we will do something that will be a trophy project, as we call it. We will not make money. Nobody will make money. But if we are building something that needs to live for 30 years, 20 years, needs to make an impact in the hospitality environment it is in, bring something new to the table, whether from an F&B point of view or from the room design, we need to think together how to make this work, Some consultants understand this, but the shortfall is when they don't understand it, or they are too stubborn to understand it, or they are into their own trip of, I'm a new designer in town, I like purple, okay, but, why purple? Maybe, when you start getting into the specifics of gimmicks that don't answer the big question, this is for me a shortfall from a consultant point of view. Of course, you need to understand the technical guidelines, you need to understand what stains and what not, what breaks and what not, because it's not a movie set. That's what we also tell our designers. If I'm building a movie set, I will need it for 1 week, 10 days. We shoot, and then we go home. You can break it, no problem. This is not a movie set. This is a hotel that will last for 10 years. It cannot break from the second day. You are a very, experienced fit-out and FF&E contractors. Things that can break within a couple of weeks are a headache to you and to us. Nobody wants to replace items from the first month or the second month. So, that's from a designer point of view. From a contractor point of view, we like contractors that, whether it's for Rotana or any other developer, I think the aim is to create partnerships. If you have good partners, good contractors that are not here for the short term, these partnerships can last and can make the result much better for you, for me, for our client, because you see, it's a circle. So I'm recommending you to my developer. The developer is trusting me with whatever I'm telling him. If you fall, I will fall, and he will fall eventually, because he's spending more money on something that would have cost him maybe 2/3 of what is going to cost him because of all these problems. So, and we said this like many times in conferences and even like closed door meetings. I like to work with partners, not contractors that are here for one job, make 2 million instead of 1.5, and then, and the more we work together well, the more you're going to get work, the more I will be trusted to operate more hotels, the more the developer is going to be excited to build the next one and the next one. And it's this collaboration that makes things work.
I see a lot of the Rotana, hotels designed like, and it's very interesting what I'm saying now, because, at the very beginning, you guys, and still, you own some of your asset. So at the very beginning, much more than now. Now it's more management, but a lot of the Rotana, you see them design, like if you are an owner, every corner is maximized, everything is functional, it works. So when I go in, they capture as much as they can from me. You know, I mean, without being aggressive. So it's smooth.
Yes.
You go in and then there's the Italian restaurant here, there's the coffee shop here, there is the reception, here is the pub. So it's like a gallery of opportunity. We say, okay, you choose. Now, does it make a difference when you go in your job, when you go from an operator which is also an owner to an operator that only deal with third-party owners? How does it differentiate your job?
Okay, first I need to clarify that Rotana as a company does not own any of the hotels, but in some cases, yes, we represent owners on some projects, especially our partners like the all-time owners that we have started with, some owners that are repeat clients for Rotana who have 5, 6, or 7 hotels with the group. This type of projects are the projects where we wear 2 hats, operator and owner hat, because we are representing them and their assets. I can assure you that because of, as you said, you know, like our attention is maximized because of our regional reach, because of our regional presence as well. We do not differentiate, but maybe the time spent on a project where we are owners as well, or owner reps as well, makes it look like we care more about our these projects. But you know, the team is fully focused on all projects. Actually, just this morning we received a call from one of our owners in Saudi who was a little bit frustrated. He said, "Where are the guys? You know, we're not taking care. You know, the designer is doing some you know, shenanigans in the designs, and you guys are not you know, responding to his and because the owners feel, all of them, that we are kind of project managers. You know, at the end of the day, we are the operator. What I can do, what I would do usually as an operator, I would get into the mock-up room, you know, check it out, look at some drawings, maybe talk about F&B briefs, and then move on to the next one. Usually, without offending anyone, international operators, that's what they do. They do focus groups on a certain project. 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, whatever. They visit the mock-up, they visit the site. It's done. But the feeling we gave to these owners, whether we represent them or not, is that we are present all the time. And that's why this morning the guy was like, "You are not present." I'm like, "Sorry, but you need to differentiate. The attention we give you has made you think that we are project managers, but I'm not a project manager. I cannot, you know, I cannot follow the designer every day and say, hey, where is your submittal? Where is your, why did you do this? Why did you do that?" So I think we equally distribute our attention. It might be the case that when we represent owners, the project gets a little bit more attention because we are then looking at the budget, we are then looking at the numbers of construction costs, we are looking at hiring maybe contractors. So we need to naturally spend more time. But the attention is more or less equal between all the projects.
What do you think are the challenges that the hotel industry is facing going forward from a technical point of view?
I think the market has matured in at least this part of the world. I'm talking about Dubai, GCC, very soon maybe Saudi as well, and the rest of the area. Before, or maybe 15, 20 years ago, anything you do will make a buzz. You know, like you can build a 5-star hotel, you can wow the guest with a big chandelier, you can do anything and people will be amazed because the ground was still empty, you know. Today, with everything that happened, with all the brands that came in, even the homegrown brands that have done fantastic work, you know, from the like companies like Rotana, or even the new ones like NV Lodges, or the type of brands that are looking at more sustainable solutions. It's difficult to wow the guest, and this is a challenge. You know, now you need to think before you develop something. What is going to be the next F&B adventure? you know, because now you cannot tell them, okay, I'll do an Italian, a Peruvian, a bar, a lobby cafe, and then my guest will be, you know, happy. You need to really think what type of food you are offering. What is the room design you're doing? Okay, what are the materials you are using? Sustainability is a big question mark, you know. You cannot just do anything and expect that people will be enjoying your facilities, you know. Right. And I think this is the main challenge, because the market has matured, which makes it even more interesting to work in this market, you know. You're not gonna, like, from a contractor point of view, you don't bring any chair now and say, okay, you know, I put a couple of red chairs in the lobby and people will be amazed. It doesn't work like this, you know. Everything has to be well thought, everything has to be well designed, and this is a nice challenge to have.
Memorable experiences.
Yes,
as they call
exactly.
Yeah. You mentioned about sustainability, right? How has this impacted the industry in general? In the last 2 years, people become very vocal about sustainability. When you have a new project, do they impose it on you? Do clients are more demanding about sustainability?
You know, clients that are aware of the impact of sustainability, yes, they do. You know, we learned throughout the last 10 years maybe that sustainability is not only green. You know, people think that sustainability is green, but sustainability has so many aspects, so many factors that make sustainability worth doing or let's say respecting. And now, yes, our clients, especially in, you know, after what happened during the Corona years, after, you know, looking at the environment, looking at the impact of this summer, for example. I mean, if you see what's happening in all over Europe, or, you know, you need to think with a very good eye to environment, to choosing the right materials, to choosing the right finishes, to choosing the right partners, the suppliers even, you know. So when you are talking about, in our case, Rotana Earth, we call it, our sustainability drive, let's say, we are not only looking at building materials or at, you know, developing eco-friendly, we are looking at the suppliers we have. Where do they bring their, you know, products from? We are looking at our mattresses. We are looking at any element of the hotel that can be done in a better way. Because if you have this message, it has to be a message that you run across all the aspects of, you know, how you employ people. Are you employing from the local market, or you're bringing all your staff from elsewhere? How do you deal with the community around you? You know, COVID made us aware of the community around us. I'm sure that during COVID, you realized that there's a very nice restaurant down there that you never noticed probably, because the reach of your, you know, movement was in this neighborhood. And then suddenly you understand your neighborhood and you kind of want to collaborate with it. In Saudi, for example, or anywhere else now in the region, we are looking at artists that we can collaborate with from the local market. Why am I going to ship all my artworks from China or Europe if I have very, very interesting artists that are living in my community and that can deliver, you know? That's what we did in Saadiyat Rotana, for example.
It's very interesting how also your brands are very well known for the quality of the F&B. You know, if somebody wants to go somewhere, what is an inclusive resort? You mentioned Saadiyat Rotana, good family, you know, weekend away. Or even to our neighbor Rotana in Media City, you know, there is plenty of choices. And the funny story is that I never see them change restaurants. The one you open with, they stays, and they're always busy. So is this part of your brand standard? Is it part of the core value? Why is Rotana so good at F&B? You know, particular from the design to the concept and the long lasting. They don't change like, oh my God, on the corner there was a Chinese, now there is a gyros takeaway. You know, I mean, yours are always consistent.
You see, I don't want to talk about, like, on behalf of our operation people or our, let's say, operation management team, but what I know and what made me like hospitality at large is the fact that being hospitable, it's also part of our DNA as Mediterraneans. You know, you are Italian, I'm from Lebanon. We know how to be hospitable. And hospitable means if I invite you to my house, I'm not going to send you to your room with a bottle of water. I'm going to treat you with a nice dinner. I'm going to treat you with a nice bottle of wine maybe, or a nice cup of tea. And we're going to have a very nice dinner where you're going to feel the warmth, you're going to feel the nice food. And then I'm going to say, you know what, have a good night. And in my opinion, this is part of the DNA of a hotel. A hotel is not about only a room. People think that, okay, hotel means rooms, room service. No, but F&B is part of being hospitable. I'm offering you the best that I have, which is food and shelter. You know, and Rotana is, if we go back to the origin of the company, Rotana is a palm tree that used to originate from Medina. And where do you find palm trees? In an oasis. In the oasis you find shade, you find water, and you find dates. So it's about shelter and food, and good food. You know, so if you go back to this origin, you will realize that actually it is very important that your restaurants are as good as your bed and your shower, you know. And consistency is one element of being good, you know. I'm sure you know Teatro in Towers Rotana.
Yeah.
Today we are looking at renovating the place, but still what our F&B guys were saying is that I want to bank on the history of this place. My parents, whenever they came to Dubai, if I wanted to treat my mom on Mother's Day, I would take her to Teatro. You know, a lot of people fell in love in Teatro. A lot of birthdays happened in Teatro, and people know this place. If you have this legacy of F&B, whether it's Teatro, Prego's, Rodeo Grill, there's so many names that were homegrown, that were company grown, and that are still, as you said, making a name in the city. Of course, there's a challenge with the newcomers and all these brands and all these food offerings, and this is where we need to refocus. But still, why am I going to throw in something that has so much history for something else that is, as you said, maybe, I don't know, a gyros place, because just, you know, this one doesn't work as good as it used to be yesterday. Why don't I work on it, make it, you know, bank on this legacy and make it like consistently sustainable?
Now, you do a lot of talks and speeches at universities.
Yes.
In Dubai, Lebanon,
Definitely.
everywhere. What is your advice for somebody, for students of architecture or other discipline, they want to come into this industry?
Okay. So, for me, it's very important to connect the students to the real world. When we started our careers, there was no one to tell us, you know what, instead of spending 6 years doing architecture school, home, parties, friends, school, home, you know, you should actually start connecting with the real world, do internships, you know. So part of why I'm doing this in universities, we have collaborations with the Abu Dhabi University, with the American University in Dubai. We did a few other things here and there online at some point, is to tell the students that whether you want to choose a hospitality career, design career, or anything else, first message is connect with the real world from a very early stage, even after your first year in school. Because you will need to know and you will realize how things work. You know, because people are coloring, drawing, designing, choosing materials, whatever. After 5 years, they go out to the real world and they're like, oh, no, it doesn't work like this, you know. I cannot choose. You know, I used to see projects where tables are flying and, okay, it's nice to dream. Maybe the metaverse is the right place for them maybe now to dream all these, unrealizable dreams, which is great. But you need to understand that this table has to stand on 4 legs or 3 legs, but it has to stand. I need to be able to use it properly. If I'm eating, it has to be of a certain height. All these small details, plus the business details of why am I doing this? Why are we building a hotel? Why are we doing this restaurant, for example? They need to know all this. And my advice is, first, connect to the real world. And second, if you like this industry, go all the way. Visit as many hotels as you can during your school years. Try, if you can, and if your budget permits, to stay in as many as you can. Try the restaurants, try the food, understand why they are doing this. Research. We always used to say, and I think I've learned this from my brother, he's into advertising. The more images you fill your brain with, the more information the richer you are. So when I sit with you and you say, you know what, I want to do a Peruvian restaurant, I have seen 600 Peruvian restaurants in my head. And I know for this place how to mix all this and make the best out of it. But if you are not rich in imagery, in experiences, your input will be very limited to what you know. Of course, you can open a magazine and copy and whatever, but still, the more you have seen, the more experienced you are, and the more the more input you have on the environment you are in. And that's why you see some people are successful very quickly, because they have, they live and breathe what they are doing, and some people just pass their careers and just, nobody knows that they ever existed. And I think if you are passionate about something, people need to know that you exist, and people need to realize that this person, he knows what he's doing, and this is my advice to students usually.
Now, like, we would love to stay here and listen to you all day, which is unbelievable. But we're coming towards the end of our chat, and which is very interesting. And so, if I take a large canvas and put it on top of the Burj Khalifa, what message would you write on that?
Enjoy the simple things would be the message.
Why is that?
I lost my father in April. And, after so many years, recent years, of course, career is very important. Of course, experiences throughout your working years is very important. But sometimes, with all this drive and passion and, projects that we are talking about, you miss on opportunities to spend, the real time and with your family, with your friends. Call your parents whenever you can, if you still can. Be with your kids, be with your friends. Enjoy even your work. Some people, as I was telling you, they don't enjoy the work life they have. They go to the office, tick, 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 boom, 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 okay, emails, get upset, shout at their employees, and go home. Enjoy what you are doing. And if you are not enjoying it, change. Don't be afraid to change. So my message, I think, to myself even, is enjoy the little things, enjoy being in this world. Life is short.